The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with noise. 12 species had gathered to discuss a growing concern: the humans of Earth. For decades, the Council had watched this primitive species from afar. Humans were death worlders, born on a planet of extreme gravity and violent weather. They had survived wars, plagues, and disasters that would have destroyed any other species. But they were quiet. They did not reach out. They did not trade. They did not respond to messages. The Council interpreted this silence as fear. They believed the humans were hiding, trembling before the might of the galaxy. They believed the humans were weak. Admiral Vex of the Krell Empire stood before the Council. He was a massive being, covered in crystalline armor that gleamed under the chamber lights. His voice boomed across the room, silencing the whispers. "The humans have ignored our messages for years," he said. "They have refused our offers of trade. They have rejected our invitations to join the Council. This silence is an insult. This silence is a challenge. We must respond with force." The representatives murmured among themselves. Some looked uncertain. Others nodded in agreement. The Arbiter, an ancient being with tired eyes, raised his hand for silence. "Admiral Vex speaks with passion," the Arbiter said. "But we must be careful. The humans are death worlders. They are unpredictable. Perhaps their silence is not fear. Perhaps it is something else." Vex slammed his fist on the table. The crystal of his armor clinked against the metal. "Something else? What else could it be? They are primitive. They are alone. They have no allies, no fleet, no weapons that can match ours. Their silence is the silence of the prey. They are afraid, and they are hiding." The Council agreed. They issued an ultimatum to Earth. "Surrender your weapons. Accept Council governance. Join the Empire or be destroyed." The message was sent on every frequency, translated into every human language. It was broadcast for days, repeated over and over, so that no human could claim they had not heard. The humans did not respond. Days passed. Weeks passed. The Council grew impatient. They sent another message. Then another. Each one was met with silence. No surrender. No negotiation. No plea for mercy. Just silence. Admiral Vex stood before the Council again. His face was red with anger. "They are afraid," he shouted. "They are hiding. Their silence proves their weakness. They do not respond because they cannot respond. They have nothing to say. They have no power to resist. We will show them the cost of defiance." The Council voted. War was declared. The greatest fleet in the galaxy was assembled. Thousands of warships, led by Admiral Vex himself, set a course for Earth. The ships were sleek and dark, bristling with weapons that could crack continents. The crews were eager, confident, hungry for victory. The Council expected a quick war. They expected the humans to surrender the moment they saw the fleet. They expected fear. They expected panic. They expected the humans to beg for mercy. They had no idea what was waiting for them. On Earth, the silence continued. The humans went about their lives. They worked. They played. They raised their children. They did not panic. They did not evacuate. They did not even seem to notice the distant threat. But beneath the surface, in bunkers hidden deep underground, lights were flickering to life. Screens were glowing with data. Engines were humming with power. The humans had been silent for years, but they had never been idle. They had been watching. They had been waiting. They had been preparing. And now, the time had come. General Sarah Chen stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was old now, her hair gray, her face lined with years of service. But her eyes were sharp. Her voice was steady. She looked at the screens showing the alien fleet assembling in the darkness of space. "They think our silence is fear," she said. "They think we are weak. They think we will bow." She smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen too much and survived too much to be afraid of a fleet of arrogant aliens. They have no idea what is coming. Behind her, the screens flickered. Ships were waking up. Hidden in the asteroid belt. Hidden in the moons of Jupiter. Hidden in the dark space between planets. The sleepers were stirring. And when they woke, the galaxy would learn the true meaning of humanity's silence. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace above Earth. Thousands of warships filled the sky, their weapons charged, their shields raised. The ships were sleek and dark, arranged in perfect formation. It was a display of power designed to break any spirit, to shatter any resistance. Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue planet below. He had done this 100 times. He expected the same result. Fear. Panic. Surrender. Open a channel, he ordered. Give them one last chance to surrender. The channel opened. Vex's voice boomed across every frequency, translated into every human language. It echoed through radios and televisions and computers. It was impossible to ignore. People of Earth. This is Admiral Vex of the Galactic Council. Our fleet surrounds your world. Our weapons are aimed at your cities. You have 1 hour to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy you. Vex waited. He expected a response. A plea. A negotiation. A desperate cry for mercy. That was how it always worked. The primitives saw the fleet. The primitives understood their situation. The primitives surrendered. The humans did not respond. The hour passed. The humans said nothing. No messages of surrender. No pleas for mercy. No desperate negotiations. Just silence. Vex's second officer approached, her face pale, her voice uncertain. Admiral, their communication networks are active. They are sending messages to each other. They are going about their daily lives. They are ignoring us. Vex's face turned red beneath his scales. Ignore us? We have the largest fleet in the galaxy surrounding their world, and they are ignoring us. He slammed his fist on the console. The metal dented beneath his blow. Fire a warning shot. Show them we mean business. The fleet fired a single energy beam into the ocean. The water boiled. Steam rose high into the air. The shot was powerful enough to destroy a small city, but it was aimed away from land. It was a warning. A display of power. A message that said, we can destroy you, and we will. The humans did not respond. Vex ordered another shot. Then another. Each one was met with silence. The humans did not evacuate their cities. They did not panic in the streets. They did not even seem to notice. They went about their lives as if the greatest fleet in the galaxy did not exist. People went to work. Children went to school. Families ate dinner together. The world kept turning. Vex's frustration grew. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had faced armies and fleets and planetary defenses. He had never faced silence. He had never faced an enemy that refused to acknowledge him. He paced the bridge, his claws clicking on the metal floor. His science officer spoke from his station. His voice was hesitant, almost afraid. Admiral, our sensors are picking up something strange. There are objects moving beneath the surface of the planet. Large objects. Fast objects. Vex stopped pacing. He turned to face the officer. What kind of objects? The officer shook his head. He tapped at his console, trying to get a clearer reading. We do not know, Admiral. They are unlike anything we have ever seen. Our sensors cannot identify their composition. They are moving through solid rock as if it were water, and they are accelerating. Vex frowned. Accelerating? Accelerating toward what? The officer looked up. His face was pale. Toward the surface, Admiral. They are waking up. Vex stared at the blue planet below. The humans were not responding. They were not afraid. They were not hiding. They were not panicking. They were waiting. They had been waiting the whole time. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Vex felt a twinge of doubt. He looked at the peaceful planet, at the quiet cities, at the people who refused to acknowledge his existence. He had come here expecting to conquer. He had come here expecting to break their spirits. But their spirits were not broken. Their spirits were not even touched. They were waiting. And Vex did not know what they were waiting for. But he was beginning to understand that he did not want to find out. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in bunkers built to survive the end of the world, ancient systems were waking up. Lights flickered on in corridors that had been dark for decades. Screens glowed with data. Engines hummed to life. The silence of the surface was a lie. Beneath it, the humans were moving. General Sarah Chen stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was old now, her hair gray, her face lined with years of service. But her eyes were sharp. Her voice was steady. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The screens before her showed the alien fleet in orbit. Thousands of warships. Thousands of weapons. The aliens thought they had won. They thought the humans were afraid. They thought the silence was weakness. They were wrong. The aliens have declared war, General Chen said. Her voice echoed through the command center. They think our silence was fear. They think we are weak. They are wrong. She looked at the officers around her. Men and women who had worked in secret for years, building, planning, preparing. They had never given up. They had never lost hope. Activate the sleepers, she ordered. Across the solar system, hidden in the asteroid belt, hidden in the moons of Jupiter, hidden in the dark space between planets, human ships began to wake. They were not like the Council's ships. They were not sleek or beautiful. They were brutal, efficient, deadly. They had been built for one purpose: to defend Earth, to destroy anyone who threatened it. The first ship rose from the asteroid belt. It was gray and angular, covered in scars from tests and simulations. Its engines burned bright as it pushed away from the rocks that had hidden it for years. Then another ship rose. Then another. Then 100. Then 1,000. They moved toward the alien fleet, silent and fast. Their weapons were cold. Their crews were ready. They had been waiting for this moment for years. Sleeping, dreaming, preparing. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Admiral Vex stared at his senses in disbelief. His face had gone pale. His hands were shaking. The screen showed thousands of new contacts, rising from every corner of the solar system. Ships. Human ships. Hidden where no one had thought to look. "What is this?" he whispered. "Where did these ships come from?" His science officer shook his head. The officer's voice was barely a whisper. "We do not know, Admiral. They were hidden. Our senses could not detect them. They have been there the whole time. Watching. Waiting." Vex's blood ran cold. The humans were not silent because they were afraid. They were silent because they were preparing. They were silent because they were waiting for the right moment to strike. They had let the Council believe they were weak. They had let the Council believe they were easy prey. And now, the trap was closing. "How many ships?" Vex asked. His voice was hollow. The science officer checked his readings. His face grew even paler. "Thousands, Admiral. At least as many as we have. Perhaps more. They are moving into attack positions." Vex looked at the viewport. The blue planet hung below him, peaceful and quiet. But the space around it was no longer empty. Human ships were everywhere, rising from the darkness, taking positions around the alien fleet. They did not fire. They did not attack. They simply surrounded the Council ships, silent and waiting. Vex thought about the messages he had sent. The ultimatums. The warning shots. The threats. The humans had ignored all of it. They had not responded because they did not need to respond. They had been in control the whole time. They had let him come. They had let him position his fleet. They had let him believe he was winning. And now, they were showing their hand. Vex's second officer approached. Her voice was trembling. "Admiral, the humans are hailing us. It is their general, a woman named Chen." Vex nodded. He could not speak. The screen flickered. A human woman appeared. She was old, her hair gray, her face lined. But her eyes were sharp. Her voice was steady. She looked at Vex with something that was not quite anger and not quite pity. "Admiral Vex," she said, "you came to our world with your fleet and your weapons and your threats. You thought our silence was fear. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." She paused. Behind her, screens showed the human ships moving into position. "We have been watching you for years. We have been preparing for you for years. We knew you would come. We knew you would underestimate us. We counted on it." She leaned forward. Her voice grew colder. "Now, you are surrounded. Your fleet is in our territory. Your ships are in range of our weapons. You have two choices. You can leave, and we will let you go. Or you can stay, and we will show you what our silence really meant." The transmission ended. Vex stood frozen on the bridge. He had never faced an enemy like this. He had never faced an enemy that had planned for him, prepared for him, waited for him. The humans were not prey. They were predators. And he had walked right into their trap. The battle began without warning. One moment, the alien fleet hung in orbit, confused and uncertain. The next moment, the human ships struck. They came from every direction, moving faster than anything the Council had ever seen. They did not line up in formations. They did not follow rules. They did not announce their attacks. They simply moved, and the alien fleet began to burn. Each human ship targeted a single alien vessel. They moved in close, too close for the alien weapons to track. They fired at point-blank range, their shots tearing through armor and shields like paper. They did not stop. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They hunted. Admiral Vex watched in horror from the bridge of his flagship. His hands gripped the railing so hard that his claws left marks in the metal. His fleet was burning. Ships that had survived 100 battles, ships that had conquered 100 worlds, were being torn apart in seconds. The human ships were everywhere, moving through the chaos like sharks through water. They were not just fighting. They were dancing. Return fire. Vex screamed. His voice was hoarse, desperate. Destroy them. All ships, fire at will. The fleet tried to comply. Energy beams flashed. Missiles launched. Kinetic rounds filled the void. But the human ships were too fast. Too unpredictable. They wove through the barrage as if they knew where every shot would land. They twisted and turned and spun, avoiding destruction by inches. They were not just pilots. They were artists. Vex's second officer approached, her face pale, her voice shaking. Admiral, we are losing ships faster than we can count. Our weapons cannot track the enemy. Our shields cannot stop their fire. We need to retreat. Vex shook his head. His eyes were wild. No, we are the greatest fleet in the galaxy. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. We fight. Another ship exploded. Then another. Then another. The human ships were not just destroying the fleet. They were dismantling it. Piece by piece. Ship by ship. They targeted the flagships first, the command vessels, the ships that held the fleet together. Then they went after the carriers, the supply ships, the vessels that kept the fleet running. Then they hunted the rest. Vex's communication officer spoke from his station. His voice was barely a whisper. Admiral, we are receiving a message. It is from the human planet. From someone called General Chen. Vex stared at the screen. A human woman appeared. She was old, her hair gray, her face lined. But her eyes were sharp. Her voice was steady. She looked at Vex with something that was not quite anger and not quite pity. Admiral Vex, she said, you mistook our silence for fear. You thought we were weak because we did not respond to your threats. You declared war on us because you believed we would bow. She paused. Behind her, screens showed the alien fleet burning. Ships exploded. Crews died. The greatest fleet in the galaxy was being destroyed. You were wrong. Our silence was not fear. Our silence was patience. We were waiting. We were preparing. We were making sure that when we struck, you would never forget. Vex's voice was barely a whisper. His throat was dry. His hands were shaking. What do you want? General Chen's eyes hardened. Her voice grew colder. We want you to leave. We want you to take your burning fleet and go home. We want you to tell the Council that Earth is not weak. Earth is not afraid. Earth is the reason the galaxy should have stayed silent. She leaned forward. Her face filled the screen. And if you ever come back, we will not stop at your fleet. We will come to your worlds. We will show you what silence really means. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Vex stood frozen on the bridge, surrounded by the sounds of his dying fleet. He looked at the viewport. The human ships were still hunting. The alien fleet was still burning. He had lost. They had all lost. He gave the order. His voice was hollow, broken. Retreat. All ships. Retreat. The fleet turned and fled. They left behind the wreckage of their ships, the bodies of their crews, and their pride. They jumped into hyperspace, running from an enemy they had never understood. The humans watched them go. Then they returned to their silence. But the galaxy would never forget. The galaxy would never mistake humanity's silence for weakness again. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The great chamber, usually filled with the noise of debate and argument, was silent. The representatives were shaken. They had never seen their fleet defeated. They had never seen Admiral Vex look so broken. His armor was cracked. His scales were dull. His eyes, once bright with confidence, were now hollow and empty. They demanded answers, but when Vex began to speak, they wished they had not asked. The humans were never afraid, Vex said. His voice was quiet, barely a whisper, but it carried across the chamber like a stone dropping into still water. Their silence was not weakness. It was patience. They spent years preparing for us. They built weapons we could not imagine. They hid ships where we could not see them. They waited for us to come, and when we came, they destroyed us. He looked at the Arbiter, the ancient being who had led the Council for centuries. The Arbiter's face was pale. His hands were shaking. We mistook their silence for fear. We were wrong. Their silence was a warning. And we did not listen. The Council was silent. The representatives looked at each other, confused and afraid. They did not know what to say. They did not know what to do. The greatest fleet in the galaxy had been destroyed. The greatest admiral in the galaxy was broken. And the humans, the primitive humans they had thought so weak, were still out there, silent, waiting. The Arbiter spoke. His voice was old and tired. What do you recommend, Admiral? Vex took a deep breath. He had thought about this question during the long journey home. He had turned it over in his mind, searching for the right answer. There was only one. Leave them alone, he said. Do not contact them. Do not threaten them. Do not even look at them. The humans are not weak. They are not afraid. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And they have shown us mercy. He looked at the assembled representatives. His eyes were tired, but they were clear. We tried to conquer them. We failed. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. That is not weakness. That is mercy. Let us not make them regret it. The council agreed. They had no choice. They issued a new directive, stamped with the seal of the Arbiter himself. Avoid Earth. Do not engage with humans. Do not provoke them. The galaxy learned the true meaning of humanity's silence. It was not fear. It was not weakness. It was patience. It was preparation. It was the calm before the storm. And the storm had come. The final scene returned to Earth. General Sarah Chen stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The screens were dark. The fleet had returned to its hiding places. The sleepers had gone back to sleep. The silence had returned. The world above was peaceful, quiet, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. A second officer approached. The young woman's name was Lin. She had been at General Chen's side for years, learning, watching, waiting. General, the aliens have retreated. They will not come back. Chen nodded. Her face was calm. They learned their lesson. They will leave us alone. Lin hesitated. She looked at the dark screens, at the empty chairs, at the quiet hum of the sleeping systems. General, why did we let them go? We could have destroyed them. We could have ended the council forever. They will never threaten us again. Chen looked at the young officer. Her eyes were tired, but they were kind. She had seen too much war. She had lost too many friends. She had no desire to see more. Because we are not like them, she said. We do not conquer. We do not enslave. We do not destroy what we do not understand. We defended ourselves. That is enough. She looked at the dark screens, at the quiet room, at the sleeping weapons. We showed them what we are capable of. Now they know. Now they will leave us alone. And we can return to our silence. Lin nodded. She did not fully understand. She was young, eager, hungry for victory. But she trusted General Chen. She had learned that much. Chen turned and walked out of the command center. Her boots echoed on the metal floor. Behind her, the lights dimmed. The systems powered down. The sleepers returned to their slumber. The humans returned to their silence. They went back to their lives. They went back to their families. They went back to being human. But the galaxy would never forget. The galaxy would never mistake their silence for weakness again. They had tried to conquer the humans. They had failed. They had tried to intimidate the humans. They had failed. They had tried to destroy the humans. They had failed. And they did not know why. They could not understand. They could not explain. They mistook our silence for fear. Now their fleet is burning and they don't know why. And they never will. That was the lesson. That was the warning. That was the truth. The humans were not weak. The humans were not afraid. The humans were silent. And silence, the galaxy finally learned, was the most dangerous thing of all.